Yes, I get to stand, huh?
That's right. Do you want to do an opening comment or go straight to questions?
Straight to it.
Okay, it's time to wrap up our player interviews. You got some talkers over there.
I have some personalities. Go, Flage, go!
Okay, we're going to open with questions, so please be ready. Raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you. And as a reminder, please state your name and affiliation.
Andrew Hammond, AL.com. Coach, I had a question. I talked to Coach Staley about this. You're seeing record numbers in attendance and in ratings. You're seeing expansion in the WNBA. Of course, there's growth in the college game. Would you say that we're maybe in the golden era of women's basketball, just in general?
Well, you're talking to someone that's 61 years old, and only one game was ever televised when I played. So in my world, it's pretty salty right now. It's pretty darn good right now. Why it is, I can't give you all the reasons, but it's pretty good. I don't know if I'd use the word golden, because I tend to think that if you use that, then what do we aspire to keep doing? We're not content. I think you got to keep growing, and I think you got to do this on a continual basis. Don't just let it be a fly-by-night thing and you do it and then it dies off. I think let it happen for a period of time, and then maybe we can use the word golden.
Reed Darcy with Baton Rouge Advocate. Coach, I wanted to ask you, now that you've been practicing for a few weeks, how far along are you in sort of determining, what your rotations might look like opening night?
Well, I haven't determined that. We have a lot of depth. That could be different every night. I tell them it doesn't matter who starts. You want to be in the rotation of 8 to 9 players. And because we have a lot of depth, it's going to be my job to make sure the right people are in the game at the right time. Our practices are extremely, extremely intense and competitive, as you can imagine. In fact, we don't scrimmage against each other much because it can really, really get intense, which is good. But you don't need to do that every day. We go against our dream team probably more than each other, just to make sure that I get a look from a coaching perspective of who I want on the floor. But it's all good.
Hi, Coach. Carrie Oseb, WVTM 13 here in Birmingham. Piggybacking on the question just about the growth of women's basketball, it seems like we're on a precipice of what may be the biggest change for the game and just women's sports in general. So to ask you this question, what does it feel like after all these years to see your team and your ladies obviously at the forefront of reaping those benefits? And just emotionally, how is that to know that this game, still has more to grow, of course, but it's starting to really get there?
Well, you're flattered. You're flattered. I tend to think about those that came before now, that didn't have all these things, those that didn't have NIL, those that only played one game a year on television, because you can't have the future without having the history of it. And so I kind of mix both and think, wow. To think this last third of my coaching career that I get to be a part of what is really, really special right now in women's basketball. It's special with the attendance that we had at the championship. It's special with the NIL deals that I get to watch these young people have. It's special just in so many ways. And it really, really is something that I can tell you, I knew it would get better, and we hoped that this day would come, but I don't know that I ever thought it would be this big, this fast. And it may not be fast in the eyes of some people, but it really is fast for this generation.
Gabrielle Lewis, the next. Last year, you got the #1 transfer in the country in Angel. This year, you got the #1 and #2, whatever way you slice it, and then a really good freshman class. What makes you such a dynamic recruiter, and what particularly in the portal has made you so successful?
Well, the portal's changed everybody. I mean, it's just something that you have to embrace, just like the NIL's changed everybody. I don't go get those players. I have a staff that's unbelievable. I could name every one of them, but my staff works extremely hard in selling me, selling LSU, selling what I've done in women's basketball. It's not me. I'm maybe a deal closer and go in and do things, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a good staff that just really, really understands and works at recruiting, they're not going to knock your door down to come play for you. You got too many great coaches out there that they could play for. So we work extremely hard. If we can get them on campus and they can see what LSU is about, we feel we have as good a chance as anybody to compete and get recruits. But yeah, we've done a lot of good recruiting quickly, and but there are a lot of other programs that have done the same.
It's right here.
Hey, Coach.
Hi.
AP Stedham, AP and Kill, as we see it, syndicated radio. Coach, is there any trends in basketball? The men's, they kind of got away from the big people throwing it to the post and, it spread out. Is there any trends in women's basketball that you see offensively, defensively?
Listen, my answer's going to be probably totally different than a lot of people. I'm still of the belief, give me a post, give me a shooter, and give me a point guard, and then I'll fill in the other pieces. I don't think that's changed. The problem is we don't all get a post, a shooter, and a point guard, so we have to take whatever we have and be very creative. I think not only in basketball, you've seen it in college football. The spread became really, really popular when people didn't have big offensive linemen that could knock you on your rear end and running backs that could run over you, so you had to be creative, right? So I think in basketball it became, creative to where, wow, I've got to play these 5 guards because I don't have a big. I've got to play because you have to be creative, and great coaches figure out ways to compete. And I've been very blessed that I've always had a post, a shooter, and a point guard, and then fill in the pieces around you.
The story of recruiting Haley, and specifically, she came into the portal with a do not contact tag. So when you heard the news that she was choosing to transfer, what was it like to get her on campus? I know people have drawn a lot of similarities to you too with the braids and everything.
I recruited Haley when I was at Baylor, and it got down to us in Louisville. And I always tell my coaches when we lose a recruit, don't be ugly. Show your disappointment, but you never know if you're going to see that player again. And I wished her well and just ended it the right way. When they told me, and I say they, that's my coaches, that she was getting into the transfer portal and had a, whatever it was, do not call or whatever, and I just laughed and I said, well, that tells you she probably knows where she wants to go. And little did I know that she pretty much contacted us, and we brought her in on a visit, and she, I think, talked to 2 other programs. I'm not sure she even visited those other programs. She came by herself on her visit, and I think the connection with us recruiting her and her knowing me at Baylor was an advantage. So that's the story of how we got Haley. The comparison, listen, the only comparison between me and Haley are the braids. She's so much better than I ever was as a player. She can play multiple positions for us on the perimeter, and she will. Working with her a lot right now on playing a point guard position, and she's never really had to do that probably since high school. And I think she's getting a great lesson in you don't just throw a ball out there and tell somebody to be a point guard. There are lots of things that have to take place on that court, both offensively and defensively, for you to be really effective. And she's working really hard to try to get more playing time as a point guard for us.
Ethan Westerman, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Kim, whenever you just look across the SEC, you know it's going to be a battle every time you go out. You look back even last year, you had to come back in the final minutes against an Arkansas team that didn't even make the NCAA tournament. Just what do you think of the overall collective just talent in the league and the competitions you have within the league?
Well, I'm going to start with the coaches in the league. I just think there's just a ton of coaches in our league that bring different styles to the floor. And each night you have to prepare for something different. You have young coaches, you have the older coaches, you have different styles. Each year you lose a group of seniors in your league that move on. Some go to pro ball, some don't. But the next group up is usually just as talented as the group that left. And I just feel like this year you're going to see a lot of talent again. Maybe the difference is those kids can decide if they want to leave or stay because they got their COVID year. And so that's going to make it really interesting as we watch this season unfold. But the SEC is the SEC. And I can say that now, having been in the league 2 years. It's a challenging league in that you really have to flush one game and prepare quickly for the next game, and it can be totally different philosophy. And that's good. That's good. And that's why you see people get upset in the league. That's why you see some teams play teams always close. Then let's don't even talk about the rivalries you have in the SEC. That brings another whole dimension to the league.
Coach, just wanted to ask you about Angel. How can she grow? What can she add to her game to sort of go up to that next level?
Well, Angel has been working on mid-range shots. Angel, you know, she's a competitor. She doesn't want anyone to think there's something in her game that she's weak at. And I tell her, well, everybody has a weakness. That doesn't mean you're not going to be a pro. That doesn't mean you're not going to be great at the next level. But Angel will go and work one-on-one every day prior to practice on anything that she's either read, heard, anything that she can't do that's a weakness of hers. And I just think that's Angel Reese. She knows she can rebound with the best in the country. She now wants to show people what she can do facing the basket, what she can do taking you off the dribble to the basket. I just love coaching that kid because she's just a competitor.
Angel just talked about how Samaya Smith has really taken off this summer. Can you talk a little bit about Samaya, how she's grown over the summer, and then what you expect from her and her role in the team? Samaya
Smith stayed in Baton Rouge on campus, and basically she had an invitation to try out for USA Basketball, chose not to do that. She wanted to get stronger. She wanted to be in the weight room. She played such valuable minutes for us last year, and she realized LaDasia Williams is gone now, and I want to step into that spot. And if anybody's going to beat me out, then they're going to have to work as hard as I am. And she stayed on campus, and she's just a quiet person, but little by little we see her growing in that area. She'll block a shot and might say something, and we'll go, did she just say something? And we're kind of proud of her for speaking up. But Samaya is a coach's dream. She is so talented and played her role last year, and now she realizes her role needs to change, and she needs to be prepared for it.
Coach, you mentioned your dream team, and you gave them rings. We saw the video on social media. You could tell that it was one of those special moments, you know, that you really wanted to really thank them. Was that something that you had kind of set out, you know, when you first got the job at LSU, or is that something that you've just always wanted to do and this was a good opportunity to take advantage of that?
Within an organization, you have all levels of people that make it work. I've always had Dream Team, but the rules with NCAA didn't allow you to do things for Dream Team. They didn't allow you all the things that we can do now. And so I just wanted them now to go back and check and see if we can legally give them rings. And if it is a LSU deal, I'll cover the expense myself. But it wasn't an LSU deal. We had to get clearance through compliance and through the NCAA, and we finally got it a day or two prior to me doing that at practice. And the look on those guys' faces and the joy and the excitement, it was just priceless. It was so real and it was so genuine, and they are a big part of what we do. But it also made me reflect on all those other dream teams I have had through the years that, again, didn't get these opportunities. The same question that was asked earlier. You know, now people are reaping rewards that others didn't get the opportunity because of rules and things like that. But those guys were at our Final Four. They pay out of their own pocket to go to the Final Four. They're the first ones hugging you and just cheering you on. Our team is their team. That team I get to coach belongs to that student body. If you've never been to a game, you can't get a ticket in the student body section. It's crazy. And they just feel a big part of it.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.